Are we ready? We are. We're ready. All right. Good morning, everybody. We could just go around and introduce ourselves, but we won't. My name's Tim Careyhart. I am the CEO of Easter Seals of Southeastern Pennsylvania. I've been in my role only since July, so I'm new to this role. Prior, I was with Special Olympics Pennsylvania, so go figure. I can cross over my worlds here this morning in a big way. But thank you for coming to this panel this morning. Easter Seals and Special Olympics and probably many of these other organizations have been a part of advocating for disability rights for many, many years, including the passing of the ADA back in 1990, I believe. And so I'm really proud to be up here today to moderate. I will blend into the background very quickly this panel of esteemed guests who are here to share an overview of the context of how and what exists to enable voting for the disability community, and then some real world kind of more experiential stuff with our panel as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started this morning, and the way we're going to do it is I've asked our panelists to just introduce themselves first, so they're going to introduce themselves to the room, and then we're going to come back, excuse me, and Lisa is going to start us off. And then when Lisa's done, after each panelist then does their presentation, their speaking part, we'll entertain any questions from the audience if there are any at that time. If not, we'll move on to the next speaker, and then we can wrap up any final questions at the end, because oftentimes questions happen after somebody else says other things, so they kind of build throughout the experience together. I will just note that we are being recorded and live streamed, so if you do have a question, once we get to that part, I will be your Phil Donahue. For those of you who are old enough to remember Phil Donahue, I will be the one delivering the microphone to you, so you can speak your question into the microphone, and then we don't have to repeat it up here in front. So, sound good? We got a plan? All right. So Lisa, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Tim, and good morning. My name is Lisa Deely. I am a Philadelphia City Commissioner. In Philadelphia, we have a board of elected officials, bipartisan board, that handle all things related to elections and campaigns in Philadelphia. I was first elected in 2015 and sworn into office in 2016. It's an absolute pleasure for me to be here today, and I should also let you know that I'm a crazy Eagles fan, so I'm really loving being up here. So thank you all so much, and I look forward to the discussion.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. My name is Vicki Landers. I go by she, they, and I am the founder and executive director for Disability Pride Pennsylvania. I'm also the co-lead for the Rev Up Philly coalition here in Philadelphia. I'm excited. I am also a Eagles fan, and coming up into some of these new spaces is very cool. So I'll kick it off to Chuck.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Chuck Horton. I'm a he, him, my pronouns. I am the manager of program eligibility and regulatory compliance for SEPTA. I'm also the president emeritus for Disability Pride PA. I sit on a bunch of different boards around this week. I'm not going to go on because it'll be here forever. It's a bunch of tongue twisters. So I'm another Eagles fan, and I'm happy to be here. And I was here before, and I tell you, the last time we went into the locker room, and I was in awe because I was like, it was just like so amazing. We went to the press, and when we went in the field, I was just in my glory. It was like somebody throw me a football, about ready to go out on the field, because like let's do this. Because it's like when you go out in that field, it was just so amazing. It's amazing. So just being in this place is awesome. So I'll kick it over to Neil, my friend.
So you guys are setting me up really bad for this one because I am not an Eagles fan. I'm from North Jersey. I am a Giants fan, but since my team is so bad, I still root for the Eagles when they're playing. So I'm so happy to say that I successfully hid that fact from people, and I was elected as mayor of North Wales, a small community here, near here. It's about a little while away in Montgomery County. I am the first deaf person to be directly elected to the office of mayor in the United States. I am also the executive director of the Deaf Hearing Communications Center. We provide American Sign Language interpreters and advocacy services for deaf and hard of hearing people throughout the local area. So please forgive me when I say it's important. Don't let the other facts about my background color your opinions of the things I have to say today.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. All right, Lisa, back over to you.
Thank you so much. So again, it is my absolute privilege to be here this morning to talk about an issue that is really very important to me, and that is about accessibility. Accessibility for voting for everyone, but specifically today as we talk about the rights for disabled population in Philadelphia, to be sure to be able to vote freely, fairly, with as much accessibility as possible. So we've come a long way in the state of Pennsylvania, and particularly in Philadelphia, when it comes to accessibility and the availability of that. So in 2019, then Governor Tom Wolf mandated that all Philadelphia counties change their voting system to require a verifiable paper ballot. We painstakingly looked at that process, and there were other methods and other systems that we looked at, and we purposely selected the system that we have because of what was brought to us by the disabled activists who came to us and said, you know, we want to make sure that when Philadelphia chooses their voting system, that it's something that, you know, we can all have access to equally. And I did, to be fair, I mean, I've been around the country to other places, and it's been my experience in a lot of places when we're talking about the in-person voting, a disabled person would come in to vote, and everybody has to, like, wonder, what are we going to do, right? We got to get the other machine out. Oh, we have to go find out where you plug it in. Oh, we never did this before. And it causes kind of an unfair scene to the person that's just trying to get in there to vote. I unfortunately witnessed that in a couple of different places when we went around the country, looking at other systems and trying to pick up best practices. And I knew that I didn't want that for Philadelphia voters. I also learned through the activist community and through a lot of engagement that the time before that, when Philadelphia had bought a new voting system, they were not thinking about the disabled population. And the voting system that they had to modify it after purchasing it to fit some basic needs of the disabled community. So very cognizant of those two things when we looked at what we were going to do. So very proud to say that everybody in Philadelphia votes on the same voting system. Whether you're disabled or not, everybody's voting on the same system. In-person voting in Philadelphia, every polling place is equipped with a device for people to use if they need it, with all kinds of accessibility features on it. And we've also, since 2019, in Pennsylvania, we have no excuse mail-in voting, which basically clears the way of any hurdles for anybody to be able to get a ballot and have access to voting. So without any excuse or without any reason, you can apply to vote by mail right now in Pennsylvania and certainly in Philadelphia. We have satellite election locations throughout the city that are open and available to go in and apply in person for your mail-in ballot. They'll print your mail-in ballot out for you. You can mark it and hand it right back to us, and it's handled just like a mail-in ballot. We have drop boxes located throughout the city if you're getting your mail ballot mailed to your home. And in-person elections, you know, we do our best. Like I said, all of our polling places have voting system that is equipped for the disabled community. If you go on our website at vote.phila.gov As we get closer to the election, you will see the list of polling places throughout the city, and they will have a designation as to whether they are fully accessible or whether there's parking for accessibility. So all your answers can be found on our website with regard to accessibility. And you can also always give us a call or shoot us an email at vote.phila.gov. I want to make sure that everybody in Philadelphia is voting and that access to voting is equal for everybody. So I'm happy to take any questions. We have a very important election ahead of us, and I don't want anybody to feel as though there is a barrier based on a disability for you to not participate in this very important election and to have your voice heard and your vote cast.
We have a question. Oh, we have two.
I'm sorry, maybe other people are going to talk about this, but I was just wondering, and that was like amazing. I didn't know any of that, so thank you. But I guess I'm also wondering about, and maybe this will come up, like people knowing that they can vote and like before they even show up to vote and knowing that they can and being registered. And if there is any, and maybe that's not you, maybe somebody else is going to talk about it, but is that?
That's a great question. And yes, before you can vote, we want to make sure everybody's registered. So if you are a United States citizen and you are 18 or you will be 18 on or before Election Day, we want to make sure that you get registered to vote. There are forms and ways for you to get registered. You can contact us if you have something that's impeding you from filling out the form. You can have somebody assist you in filling out that form. There's a space for somebody to sign that they assisted in the form. And that brings up another point. If you need assistance at the polling place, if you need assistance with your mail-in ballot, there are no barriers to assistance. The only people that can assist you is your union representative or the judge of elections. You can get assistance from anybody that you want to assist you.
And I think a lot of, I'm sorry, but I guess, and maybe this is your organization, I think there's sort of a misconception that people with, especially maybe intellectual disabilities, can't vote or aren't allowed to vote, or they're not registering because they're not sure or they're not sure how. I mean, I don't know, but.
We want to make sure that everybody that wants to vote has the opportunity
Yeah,
to
me
vote.
too. Yeah.
We don't make any determination based on anything other than you're a United States citizen and you'll be 18 on or before Election Day. They're the only two questions we ask.
Yeah. No, that's great. I'm hoping people are registering.
Thank you. Me too.
Wonderful. Thank you. We've got a couple more or one or two more.
Okay, hi. I know a lot of the satellite offices are open already, and can people go register there as well?
Absolutely. You can register to vote and apply for your mail-in ballot and get your mail-in ballot all in one stop.
Wow.
All in one stop. You can get in and out. You go in, you register to vote, you can get your mail-in ballot, mark your ballot, return your ballot, all in one stop.
Oh, that's amazing.
It is pretty cool.
That's cool.
We're
okay.
excited about it.
Also, there are two districts on the website. There are District 6 and District 2 don't have an office yet. Can people who live in those districts go to the other satellites?
Anybody in Philadelphia can go to any satellite office in the city. District 6 is opening on Tuesday, and District 2, I believe, is opening on Thursday.
Fabulous. Thank you.
And those updates will be available on our website. But they are opening in the coming days. But anybody in Philadelphia can go to any one of our satellite election offices. There's one in each council district, but you don't have to go to where you live. So if you work downtown or you see one when you get off the bus or it's near the Acme, you can go in any one you want to go to.
Okay, and just one more time, you can go and register. You can do the mail-in
can
ballot.
go and
but
register.
Can you get the ballot and vote at the same time too?
It's a one-stop shop.
That's amazing. That's new.
You can register, apply for your mail-in ballot, mark your mail-in ballot, mail it, and be done. You might recall in 2020 we had satellite election offices in the schools during the pandemic because the schools were closed, and it's been like a mission of mine to get those back again, but to ensure that when we did get them back, they would be permanent so that voters would get in the habit of always knowing that they can go to this location and they can vote every time, and that will develop a culture of people that will vote in the satellite offices every election. We don't want to, what we didn't want to do is have pop-ups. So you might go to vote one day at 1234 Frankfurt Avenue, and then the next election it's not there. The chances of you going and finding out where you're supposed to go have dropped greatly, and the chances of you actually winding up going and vote have dropped. So we could lose you if we don't have consistency. So the purpose and the plan for this satellite offices is to make them permanent so that they can become a part of Philadelphia's voting culture.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My question, the satellite offices may be the answer to this, but do you guys provide any assistance with transportation in getting anyone who's disabled to the polls themselves on election day?
We do not. The city does not provide transportation, but the satellite election offices could be helpful because, if you have CTS ability or some kind of rideshare ability, you can schedule a time. You're not limited just by election day, right? So it might be easier for you to get there if you can, the satellite election offices are open 7 days a week. So it might offer an opportunity for you to be better able to get an appointment to get a ride out there, but the city does not offer rides on election day. But there are a lot of campaigns and committees that get involved around election time, especially, I would say, especially in a presidential election, you'll see a lot of activity from a lot of nonprofits, nonpartisan organizations, and partisan organizations that are driving the vote out, both literally and actually, yes.
Thank you.
I heard that the past presidential election, Uber and Lyft offered free rides. So to the polling places, Uber and Lyft offered free rides to the polling places, and I think they might be doing it again this year. So stay tuned, keep your ear open to see if that's going to happen again. And everyone needs to, I don't know if you know that Uber and Lyft have Wave wheelchair accessible vehicles that for individuals who utilize mobility devices that they can register with those too, that they can use Uber and Lyft to get there. Okay, no problem.
Hi, thank you for that information. I had two questions. First, the voting machine that you described that is super helpful and addresses all different types of needs, is that Pennsylvania-wide?
No, that's just Philadelphia. So the voting system that we selected in Philadelphia, that's the only one I could speak of. There are other systems in Pennsylvania that don't offer that same opportunity because people are voting in a different fashion or a different manner. For example, some places they're voting by a hand-marked paper ballot. So that means that most of the people that are voting are getting a getting a ballot. They have to mark it by hand. Then they have to take it over to a scanner. But there is an accessible system for the disabled person, but that's separate and apart from how everybody else is voting there. That's what I was very cognizant of, and that's one of the reasons why Philadelphia has the system that it has. So everybody votes the same.
Okay, great. And then I think part of that first question was a question about, is it being highly advertised, publicized, that you have these machines that anyone can come in and have accessibility? Is that sort of already a well-known fact, or, because I think if there's a concern that someone might want to come in and not sure if they can get the help they need, or...
Like everything else, this forums like this today and what we're doing today, that's why we're doing it, to help get the word out. And we could use your help too, and that's why we're encouraged by your being here and by the Zoom audience and whoever's listening, the live stream, to help us continue to get the word out. So each one teach one, right? So you're going to let you know, and you could let others know, and we really appreciate that partnership. And we have a great partnership. I have a great relationship with these guys. This isn't the first time I've been on a panel with them or together with them. So together, we are relying on all of you to help us to get that word out. Thank you.
Great. That was a great way to wrap that up. It's all together, right? So, Vicki, we're gonna move over to you now, and Vicky's going to share a slightly different perspective on this, but I'm sure it will be fantastic and very valuable.
Sure. So personally, I always like to start with my personal experience. I use a walker some days I don't need it. I find that going into my polling place is not so easy. Doors are a little of a struggle because they're so heavy when we need them to open and close. So that's the only reason that I have a problem getting with my polling station. But I've actually spoken up at my polling place and asked them to push the doors open, leave the doors, or have somebody at the door if you can't leave one space open, and just kind of doing that as a constant reminder to them that they need to do that so folks can actually get in. I think it is our place and our space to be able to educate the ones that are there. I see the same 10 people at our polling place every year. So now they know who I am. So they make sure that the door is open. So, but I tell them this openly to everybody so that they make sure that they're realizing it I'm only one example of somebody who might need that door open. So that's my personal experience with it. And I just find that you have to speak up. You have to say something. If you don't, and you're not comfortable doing it in that space, that is why there's Lisa Dealey's office to be able to speak to. I love working with Lisa's office. We always have such great information, and we share information. So I find that if you can't speak up for yourself right there, then and there, then make sure that you let them know so that they can make those adjustments on their end. So putting my disability pride hat on, I guess. We've been doing a lot around voting. We are nonpartisan, but we started a coalition, Rev Up Philly. The reason why we started it was we wanted to make a difference here in Philadelphia County, and we thought that by just doing it in our county that we could make a difference across the board, locally and state and federal. So that is what we did. So we started a coalition with our partners at Easter Seals of Southeastern PA. We have Liberty Resources, the Jewish Children Family Services, the Legal Clinic for the Disabled. Who else? Oh, and the Arc of Philadelphia, sorry. I knew I was going to forget somebody. But also there's individual members, and we're always looking for more organizations to join. And what we've done in the past is we've had, last year we had the mayoral candidate forum. We host events during the year that talk about voting, what we want, what are the things that we as disabled people need to make sure that is being talked about around voting. What are the candidates? What are their feelings towards the things that we need? Do they actually know what the disabled community needs in when they're voting in their platforms, and we need to be able to speak to them. We need to let them know what it is, because if we don't, it's going to be very tough once they get into position to actually get them to do anything at that point. So we need to make sure that we're doing that. So we have great conversations about it. We hosted a day where we did individual interviews with some of the folks in the community, and we have videos that are coming out that, thank goodness for Easter Seals, who knows how to do a lot of that video work. But they're brilliant. They're coming out. We're starting a campaign that's very easy. Put up a piece of paper and say, I vote for, and put it on your social media. If you want to tag any of us, that would be great. We're always looking at who else is voting. And for being anybody who's putting up some great information around voting, no matter where it's coming from, that information is put up on our social media. So we make sure that it's nonpartisan. But we also have no problem with if we ask questions and people don't answer, and we have some folks who do answer, we put up both of that. You know, we put up the folks who actually answer the questions for us, and we put up the fact that somebody did not comment. So that way you know, because that is very important. So lastly, one of the things that I believe is super important is that the disabled community gets their sights set on becoming a part of the process. You know, elected, you know, there are a lot of elected official roles that you can take. And so I'm going to be very poignant, and I'm going to end mine with introducing Neil, who has done that. He has become mayor, which is so exciting. And I'm going to let him kick off.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am thrilled to be here. I think that Vicki and Chuck are going to be very nonpartisan. And I think we have to address the elephant in the room that the vote is ultimately a partisan activity. I mean, that's just how it is today in the United States. So I am going to try to be as nonpartisan and neutral as possible. I do think that we have to have a serious conversation about so much of voting being tied up in the party activities. Republicans and Democrats, independent, irregardless. How the parties are structured. They actually have little to no interest, both parties, in being meaningful about including people with disabilities. And by extension, like Vicki just mentioned, actually having candidates with disabilities. You would think that Pennsylvania, being a critical battleground state or a swing state, that both Democrats and Republicans would be fighting for every possible vote here in the state, but we don't see that happening. The Pennsylvania Republican Party has absolutely nothing on their website in regards to disability inclusion, nothing. And the Democratic Party for Pennsylvania has a page, but it literally only has a name on it, and that name is the name of the person who's the chair of that caucus. There is no explanation, there are no details, there's nothing meaningful listed on that page or shared on that page in order to explain to anybody how to get involved. It's even worse when we get to the county the county and local levels. The funding streams there are incredibly thin. It wasn't until just in 2022 that one of the major counties in our area actually moved their office to a place that was actually accessible and everybody could get to. County and local events are oftentimes hosted at inaccessible places, for example, people's homes. So if you wanted to go and provide support for your favorite local candidate, that may not be possible. You wouldn't necessarily be able to get in the door. And forget about having a sign language interpreter. Anything that costs money is out the window. In my personal experience, I ran for mayor twice. So you would think, okay, well, the party activities then would be accessible. But that is not the case. I had no interpreters for any party events, even when I made the request. The response was often, oh, we'll find somebody who signs. And I would say, no, thank you, that's against the law. We're not going to do that. And then the issue dies. So I just want to be clear that individuals care deeply. We know this. Individual people within the party care deeply, individuals who get it. But at the same time, the structure of our current political party system has to a point disincentivized inclusion. The focus is on winning and not necessarily winning with our values, but just winning. So when we try to advocate, when I say we, I mean people with disabilities, try to advocate for additional accessibility at different levels, it becomes kind of a, well, we can't do it, try the next people up. Well, they can't do it either. We got to move up to the next set of people. And it gets all the way up to the national level. And at the national level, they say, oh, that's not our job. So then it falls back down the levels, and we just play this game where it goes up and down, and nobody takes responsibility. And that is a bipartisan problem. That is an all parties problem. But the reality is, how can we get people to vote? If those activities leading up to elections are not accessible, how are people going to vote? You'll always see a few candidates or elected officials with disabilities, and that will always be the way unless we change that and make things more accessible. I will turn it over now to Chuck, who is going to fill in all of the blanks that Vicki and I left. And then we'll turn it over for questions.
I think we may have a question first, actually. Sorry. Is that okay?
Sure.
She's itching to.
Hi, sorry. You said something very important, and I wanted to get clarification real quick. You said that you asked for a signer, and then something about it being illegal for them to find one, or the way in which they were going to do it. Thank you.
So I'm kind of smiling a little bit because yesterday, Representative Hohenstein, who's sitting behind you, helped us pass an amendment and update to the law in regards to pretty much this specific thing. In the state of Pennsylvania, you must be a certified sign language interpreter who is registered with the State Office of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing in order to act as an interpreter in most community settings. You can't just show up as a person who knows sign language and interpret for someone. There are only a very few exceptions to that rule. One would be for faith-based settings and activities, and one would be for family activities or family events and gatherings. And there's one very, very specific exception for emergency situations. The challenge here that I forgot to mention is that the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act do not cover partisan activity. And I think many of them do not feel obligated then, under the spirit or the letter of the law, to provide accessibility and to comply. But in Pennsylvania, you cannot act as an interpreter if you are not a certified interpreter following the state regulations.
Thank you. Chuck.
Okay, so I'm the cleanup person, all right? So this whole forum is to the power of the vote, making the candidates court the disabilities community. Candidates come out to us when they're running. They'll go anywhere, any place. I mean, they'll stand on the puddle of water in the ocean if we ask them to present to us. They'll do anything. Once they get in office, who are you? I don't know you. But see, the problem with that within our community is they come and court us, but we don't go back and court them. They're our employees. When we go into a ballot box, into a polling place, and we push a button, we say we're employing you, and we want you to represent us. But what happens once they get in, we also forget that they're our employee, and we put them in position. And every 2, 4, 6 years, they come back and ask us to reemploy them. But what we don't do is we don't go and visit them. We don't visit and say, this is who I am, this is my community, this is what we want you to address. This is how we want you to represent us. And what happens is, once you do that, that builds a relationship. You're not just a constituent. You're my friend. You're somebody that I know I can come back to, that I can kick ideas off of, that I can get a mindset of what the community looks like and what the community needs. We as a community have to make sure that we go into those offices and say, this is who I am. Lisa and I have known each other for years. We used to work in controller's office together. But when she was elected, I stayed in your office all the time. And all of the city council people offices, I stayed over. They know Chuck. I know the doors might be a little bit locked. I know knock, knock, knock. They're going to open up the door. They know. I don't even have to ask questions. Click this, click that, click that. Come on in, Chuck. See, but what happens is that my name is Charles, and I'm going to tell you a quick story. One of the Councilman Curtis Jones, we've known each other for years and years and years. And I used to head the Mayor's Office on Disabilities. I used to give an award ceremony. And he was giving out, when they would give out awards, they would ask the person, whoever nominated the organization, to come up. And so he was like, can Charles Horton come up? And so I was right beside him because I had the Mayor's Office. I was right beside him. And he was like, I'm looking for Charles Horton. And everybody in the group was like 300 people, like, he's right beside you. He started laughing. And he was like, y'all don't understand. This is Chuck to me. I don't think Charles Horton. Okay? That's a relationship. We as a community have to build a relationship with the people that represent us. And if we don't do that, how do they know who we are? How do they know how to represent us? How do they know what ideas that can lead them in the proper way? We as a disabilities community are the largest minority group in America because we are the only group that everybody can be a part of. I don't care what you are made of, who you are. We are the only community that's inclusive of everything. We like Cancun. We're an inclusive trip, okay? You come here, you get everything about us. We all things, we everything, and we will always be. And disability will always touch everybody's family. It will be directly you or somebody that's in your family. It will. So one thing that we have to understand is that they don't know us. And another thing too, when you get into that door, make sure that you speak up for 2 or 3 people, our brothers and sisters that's also in the disabilities community. Not just yourself, but others. Because when you do that, that gives them a broader idea. And then they'll say, well, Chuck, you in the chair, do you know somebody who's deaf? Yep, I do. Yes, I do. Okay? And so I can have them come in and give you their viewpoint. Okay? So is somebody who's blind? Yes, I do. How those things work. And then what happens is you allow them to be advocates for other people in the community. And what happens, a lot of times, the powers that be and the people who make these decisions for us, it's not that they don't want to know us. Sometimes it's a fear factor of, what is the proper language? What can I say? How do I approach you? How do I represent you? What do I say? What's the right wording? And sometimes it's like, it's not that they don't want to be in the educated mindset of making decisions for us. They just don't have the connections. So when you're going into those places, you be the connector. We be the connector. And we make sure that the things that we need are represented. Because a lot of times, they have no idea of what is really affecting us deep down. But the only way that they can see it and the way that they can get to understand it is us. It's always us. and we can always be there. You know, nothing about us without us. If nothing about us without us, and they make a decision without us, and we know they're making decisions without us, and we know that they have doors, they have community, in the majority of elected officials, they have satellite offices in our communities. If they're a council person, if they're reps, they have satellite offices in the community that you go to. You don't always have to go to Harrisburg. You don't always have to go to D.C. You don't always have to go down to City Hall. You can go to their satellite office and talk to them and let them know who you are. So if all of these things are open to us and available to us to get there, we have to utilize them. We have to go there. Because without that, we have to say, is it their fault or is it our fault? And that's something we have to look at purely. Is it their fault or is it our fault that they don't represent us or know how to represent us? And that's the question you have to ask yourself every time when you point the finger at an elected official and say, you're not doing anything to represent my community or me or my needs or my wants. Okay? That's it.
Drop the mic. Mayor, yes, sir.
This is Neil. I just wanted to add very quickly to what Chuck had just said, and I broke my own rule of not offering solutions for all of the complaints that I just raised. One of the key things that we need for people with disabilities to do is to get involved with your local committees. Start with your local committees. That's the easiest inroad to getting involved, because until you are a committee person, many times nobody listens, right? So there's no reason for those, if you don't have agency in the process yet, you need to get involved with your local committees and organizations, like your local town, your local ward, whatever those committees might be, and then continue to advocate and provide support for those issues and make sure that they are heard at the table.
Thank you. Okay. He's going to have a question. He's going to formulate that. Anybody else have any other questions before we, or comments? Hopefully no snide remarks. Well, as he's formulating this, here we go. We've got one over here.
I guess it was more of a comment, but I work for Councilmember O'Rourke for the City of Philadelphia, and people don't realize how easy it is to get politically involved. Your representatives are desperate to talk to you. A lot of them are in this because they genuinely care about you, and they care about the city, and they want people to thrive. And there's only so much that one person can go out into the community. But city council offices are open from 9 to 5 every day. You can walk into City Hall, go through security, and get there. Like, they want to talk to you. And if you want to talk to them, they're just people like you and me. Like, they're nothing special, if I'm being really honest. Like, they just have a little bit more power, but they are normal, just like you and me,
So, like, I'm a little special, right?
I think I would say more often than not, this is Neil actually, that politicians are like, they're probably more nervous than you are when you come to see them. They are the ones who are ready to learn. The challenge sometimes is, how do we get this big monster of a system changed? That's the hard part. But the individuals, those individual politicians, really want to learn, and they want to interact with you, regardless of which party they're affiliated with. They are sitting there, and they are there to listen to you. And it helps when you realize that they are more nervous than you are, because most of the time, they have no idea what's about to happen, right? They have no idea what it is you're coming to tell them. And when you share your story, they are ready to hear it, because you are not yelling and screaming at them, so they are ready to hear it.
one thing about elected officials, they're civil servants, okay? And you have to look at that civil servants. They are there to serve the civilians of their municipalities. That's what it is. They went in and said they ran, and running, they'll tell you they got to fundraise, they got to run all over the place. They have to do it's just to get to the point of saying I want to run in the day of polling, like the day of. It's a whole bunch of stuff to go there, and it's drama, right? It's a lot, right? It's drama. It's a lot of stuff that they have to go through just to say, I want to serve you. So that takes, I mean, you have to look at them and be like, that they go through a lot just to say, I want to serve you. So in this, they're pure people, you know? And that's real. And then what they say is they're really good people. And it's just like they want to serve us. But we just got to make sure that we give them the tools that they need. And that's us.
You know, one other thing. Most elected officials, they might come into office with a plan or an ideal of the kind of elected official they want to be or what their core issues may be. But how they really get their ideas on what bills they're going to go for or what issues are going to be important or what kind of events they're going to do, they get them from you. So I'm sure if I asked Representative Hohenstein, how did it come to be that this bill was passed into a law about the sign language, right? The interpreters, I'm sure it was either a personal experience or it was brought to your office. So, and then somebody goes to his office. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, Neil and some other advocates in the Advisory Council on Deaf and Hard of Hearing looked at this issue and said it had to be fixed. And they came forward and they brought it to me and to a few other legislators, and we pushed it.
And that's how it happens.
Wasn't my idea.
People aren't reading. They're your elected representatives. They're not reading your mind. They don't know what you need. They don't know what might be helpful to you unless you ask them, unless you advocate for yourself and ask them and bring them ideas. And see, it doesn't happen all the time, you know, honestly, but there are occasions more than you would think where that's what happens. You take an issue, you take it to your elected representative, and they take it under their, you know, on their platform, and here you go. You have a law.
I'm going to have to run to get to the panel that I've got to do next. But one of the things we're going to discuss there and will also be discussed in another panel about talking to your legislators is exactly that. So in 2020, we did my first version of the Disability Summit. And from that, one of my constituents in Bridesburg came to me with an idea about disability inclusive curriculum. And we passed the pilot project, and we've gotten funding for it. So clap for Lisa Aquila when you see her. She is my constituent who hounded me and talked to me and gave me the structure for how to put that bill together and continues to do all of those same things still today.
Hi, we have a question over here, and I think you might know a little bit about it, but how do you find the correct person within your local community? Because someone had, I think you had said, you know, start local, start in your area where you live. So how do you find the right person to talk to? You know, would you just go to the council building, or how do you find the person that would be involved and have power over disability policy?
You can go to our website at vote.phila.gov and enter your address and ask to find your elected officials. And it'll give you all your elected officials from city, state, and federal. And then you could start there. That's a good place to start.
And this is Neil.
Not in Philadelphia, apparently here. So Yes, Neil.
This is Neil. So I often find that the best person to reach out to in those particular offices, it's generally for example, we have Tara, who is Representative Hohenstein's chief of staff. They're the ones who keep everything moving forward. They make sure that the priorities are there. And so if you find that person, the elected official is a wonderful person to know, but oftentimes there are other people who work with the elected official who can really help to move whatever it is you're trying to get move forward. So for me, and I love Joe, and I'm glad he's in the back of the room, and maybe he's not going to be able to hear me, I don't know, but Tara is the person. Tara is the person who keeps things moving. So to your question, Liam, it's important to ask, but it's also important to observe. Watch and see how conversations are going, and notice who is the person that's always being CC'd on the emails. Who is the person that is oftentimes standing just behind the representative, taking notes, either on their phone or they're taking notes on an actual notepad. Oftentimes, those people, the CC'd people, the people standing behind the representative, they're the ones, because honestly, many elected officials have ADHD. I know I do. And so they are the ones, those chiefs of staff or those other individuals, who are going to make sure that your interests are kept in the conversation when the conversation happens. And also, I do think it's important to have a conversation with those folks who are in your area. So for example, if you go to your polling location and you say, hey, I'd like to be involved, you'll see people outside of the polling areas, and they'll have flyers and other things, and you can ask them. You could say, I would like to talk about this particular thing. Who should I speak with in my local area?
This is Vicki. You can also, if you would like to, go onto our website at disabilitypridepa.org to the Rev Up tab, and you can sign up to be on our coalition, where we talk about disability voting and what are the things that we want from our candidates.
And Neil, this is for you. I just have to tell you that my CC on all my emails is right there, Nick Custodio. It's my deputy, but he's also a Giants fan.
Fantastic.
All right. Okay, we have
Share
another
our
one.
sorrows together.
This is a good group. Great conversation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Casper. My question is, how would you recommend approaching some of the different offices when you don't have the ability to access them safely? So for me, I have a latex allergy. City Hall won't let me speak at City Hall for my own voice to be heard because they decorate with my allergen. They use office supplies with my allergen. And I had to ask for a modification just to be here safely today and ask that people abstain from using it. We're ethical. And I've been hospitalized 3 times just trying to get health care. So trying to find, just this month, trying to find access to advocate to these offices can be a life-threatening hazard for not just me, but 15 million other Americans. How would you suggest this isolated community do this advocacy when just going to visit can be a life-threatening hazard, and that's the barrier in front of us preventing us from doing the advocacy and what's keeping us isolated? Only 9 states have regulations and legislation in place for people like me. Thank you.
One of the things I would say is you can call. You're talking about city council? Okay. If you have, do you know who your council person is?
Ketsia Lizada, I've been calling every single council member, and that's because Ketsia Lizada is not the council president. What prevents me from being able to speak at council, all the council members will say is rules set by the council president. And so I've called the council president's office as well, and I've been facing barriers and told there's nothing that they can do for people like me. Well, I know there's schools that have completely banned latex. I know that there are government buildings that can modify for me to do my public service because I serve in the Department of Planning and Development, I serve in the welfare office, and I'm an inspector of elections. And I've gotten modifications to try to serve, in my elected role as inspector of elections.
Thank
and
you.
so, thank you.
One of the things I was, there's the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities. Have you contacted them?
Yes, I contacted them too.
And what did they do to support you?
They helped me get the modification for serving in the election board. I haven't gotten any modifications yet at City Hall because council is the ones who are the barrier to being able to speak. That's what I've been told, and I've been trying to get the mayor's commission.
It's
I've
the
been-
Mayor's Commission. I used to head the Mayor's Commission. I had it through 3 mayors.
Yeah, I'm talking to Kali. I'm talking to Amy.
So those are the ones that actually oversee the accommodations through the city, because it's the ADA coordinator. The role of the ADA coordinator is to do those things and do those supports. So if there was any accommodations that was requested for that you needed, they're the ones that's supposed to work it through to make sure that you can have it. And I mean, Kenyatta's known Kenyatta for years, and I don't know why. Reach out to Tiffany White in Councilman Kenyatta's office. She should probably try to support you. She's one of the stand behind clip holders for you, you know.
Sounds
so
good.
Tiffany, reach out to Tiffany White, okay?
Sounds
and if
good.
you want to, I can give you my information. I can probably see what I can do to help you out, okay?
Thank you,
All right,
because
no
I'll
problem.
reach back out to Kali and Amy and all them again. So thank you.
Okay, cool. All right.
All right. Well, again, I want to just thank our speakers today and give them a round of applause. I think this was really a fantastic session. I learned a lot, and I hope you all did too. And so thank you very much. Please. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day today and soak up some additional fantastic information for the Disability Summit. And I think lunch maybe is next. I don't know. I don't know what the schedule is, so sorry. So I think we're done. Thank you.